Right in the heart of a silver bullet.
Yeah. I think they plotting on man. Don't wipe their feet when they enter the L.A.R. I feel a cold stare.
How does HUD keep up all of its existing commitments with all the cuts that are coming?
Cuts like what?
I asked Henry Cisneros for a question for you. He said, how do they keep up the existing commitments? How are their existing commitments supposed to thrive and prosper with all of the cuts that are being made?
That's hearsay. We have an $83 billion budget. Is that a big budget to you?
You guys were hit by DOGE.
Stewardship is the issue. It's not the money, it's stewardship. There was bad stewardship going on. Almost $4 billion for homelessness, but yet homelessness was at an all-time high. Weak economic policies, weak immigration policies, weak inflation policies, inflation out the roof. It wasn't a money problem, it was a stewardship problem. We have an $83 billion budget. That's a lot of money, and it's American taxpayer money. My job is to steward over that money. HUD has not missed one beat, not one. Matter of fact, what we've done has been more efficient and accomplished more with what we have. I'm glad you asked that question because I hear it all the time. But the real story is, it's not cuts, it's stewardship. And what you see now is faithful stewardship of American taxpayer dollars and actually putting the money to where the money is supposed to go to accomplish the mission that HUD was created to accomplish. It's a mission-minded focus. Where before, it wasn't a mission-minded focus. It was just throwing money with zero results. Success is not throwing money. Success is the money going to where it's intended to go to help the people it's intended to help.
What's good, man? America has a stewardship problem. And I'm glad I came across this video because it basically talks about that. And what I mean is this. My whole life, I've heard that concept of, oh man, why should we give money to these things? We're just going to throw money at it and nothing's going to be fixed. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Because the people that you got in charge ain't trying to fix it. They just trying to line their pockets. You know, America has been bad stewards of the economy for decades. And it's always been that concept of let's kick the can down the road for the next people. No, they'll handle it. You know, we'll deal with it later on. And when they say we'll deal with it later on, usually they're gone when it's time to deal with it. Or there's a new problem that takes precedence and they're going to halfway do that too. And then when they don't really do the job on that, they're going to kick the can down the road and then go, you know, we'll handle it later. Same old, right? So people ask, you know, where have our taxpayer dollars gone? Nowhere. Like just in the bank accounts of United States citizens who are lazy, who don't do anything. You know, who you don't see some people, you don't see progress in your neighborhoods, in your townships, in your cities, and you. But people are always in charge of, hey man, we got a budget for this and a budget for that, and it's like, hey, how everybody got all these budgets, but I don't see nothing. It's because the people in charge of those budgets don't do anything, but you know, take money from from taxpaying citizens to do whatever they want to do. You know, let's go out here and you know, let's have $1,000 dinner on the taxpayer. You know, let's have a caravan on the taxpayer. You know, let's how can I put this? Let's take a private jet on the taxpayer. It's all in the budget. But what about didn't didn't your city need new roads over here? What happened to that money? Somehow, there's we're gonna do it, but we're not gonna do it. I'm gonna get my friends to do it, but they're not gonna do it. They're gonna give me kickbacks for the contract I gave them to fix things that they're not gonna fix. And well, oops. Well, what are we supposed to do with this? We'll fix it the next time. But the money, who got the money though? Oh, I see this dude right now. F-350 driving down, F-250 driving around, F-150 driving around. I got a Raptor. Yeah, you got a Raptor off of taxpayers' money. Oh man, we're playing cornhole and on my ranch. Yeah, you got a ranch off of taxpayers' money. You didn't do anything you were supposed to do. See, you could have did the job that you have, and with the pay from that job, got those very same things. But what y'all decide to do is don't do nothing but take everything. This ain't 300. Well, it is technically, you know, because we've been knowing this for so long. Like this has been going on for so long, it's baked into the societal cake. And what winds up happening is this: you don't do it, you don't do it, you don't do it, you don't do it, and then people start looking around. They go, "Wait a minute, how did this college get a $50 million sports facility? Oh, because of ticket sales and and TV rights and the budget, right? And then they built this thing on the campus and built that thing on the campus. And then you see these other schools is like, yo, aren't you getting money for stuff? Yeah, yeah. So how come y'all ain't fixed the campus or the facilities in 20 years? Because I graduated 20 years ago and it looked the same. Oh, stewardship. You know what I mean? The school president decides to renovate their office for $1 million, but 2 years later, they ain't the school president no more. The new school president decides to renovate, something in the building to make them feel special. 3 years later, they ain't the president no more. So they ain't fixing nothing on the campus. So it's like, okay, it's the same thing with the United States government. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. So you wind up in these situations where it's like, come on, dog, what we talking about? Well, how come we can't do this? How come we can't do that? Why all these budgets keep getting bigger, but nothing keeps getting fixed with these inflated budgets, but people wind up rich at the end of the day. Let's fix education. Damn, you fixing education? So you got you got the budget for education? Yeah. Well, how come these schools ain't been fixed? Or renovated? They ain't got no damn computers. Like how come it's 2026 and some of these schools still in 1999? I know how. Stewardship, bad stewardship. Let me get a superintendent and pay them 250,000, 300,000 to say to tell you, by the way, let's get a superintendent for your school district that probably doesn't live in your school district and probably doesn't send their kids to a school in your school district, and they'll mess around and make sure you can't get the things you need out of the actual educational budget in your school district, while he talks to the person or she talks to the people in his own or her own kids' school district and funnels your money that he denied to you over to where his kids at. And then people go, this is just good capitalism. No, it's not. Capitalism is business. Capitalism isn't diverting government funds to your own personal, uh, uh, um, your own personal wants, needs, and goals in life. See, for years, people tell people who don't nobody wants a handout, but y'all been getting a lot of handouts on the government dime with these contracts in these budgets for a very long time, and people you act like people didn't know this. That's why you go in places you be like, wait a minute, because there's a certain point, in certain neighborhoods in America where it's nice, it's taken care of, it's pristine, and then you cross a street and you like, what, bro? What the? Wait, so they stopped right here? Like they did? Like they could have just extended to this block and extend. But they're not gonna do that. No, they're not. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Because we need the budget to do this and the budget to do that. And how do I know this? I've seen the same street worked on 3 different times in a 10-year period, and nothing was done on the street. And you know how they put the signs up? And this is this person and this construction company and this politician, and this is a 1.5 million, this is a 3.2 million, this is a 2.4 million. It's like, bro, y'all, I drive this road every day. There was no digging up of the concrete. I mean, there was no jackhammers breaking the concrete. There was no new rebarbing. There was no new concrete put down. There was no new lines. None of that. By the time it happened the third time, they decided to make a park. Oh, just a walkway. You could walk in a circle. So basically, you spent roughly, let's just say, $7 million. Gave somebody $7 million in 10 years to make a to fix a road that wasn't broken in the first place. So you took the money, didn't do anything, didn't enhance it, didn't do nothing, and then at the end of the day, yeah, we're gonna make like a 400-yard circle walk for people to walk on, and we planted some trees. Bad stewardship. But I'm gonna leave it at that, man. Tell me what you think. Catch you on the next one. Peace.